ask some questions, please. Okay, I guess I will have to fire the first salvo. Um, this film is easily one of the rare Singapore films that is shot on film, 16 mm film. I'm not very sure if you have noticed it. I would like to ask Daniel, why did you shoot the film on film? And knowing that it's actually kind of like an outdated technology in the entire independent filmmaking scene, how did you go about doing it? It's such a rarity nowadays to watch something on full celluloid, which is pretty nice. So could you maybe bring us through the reasons why you shot it on film, and how did you actually manage to do that in Singapore?
Well, wasn't really presented on celluloid. I wish it was presented on 16, but we don't really have 16mm projectors in Singapore, so this is HD cam. It's still digital, digitally projected but shot on film. Um, to Well, I think shooting on film, the biggest difference is the process, right? The product. I mean, I don't know how many people would know that it's on film. To me, it looks, I don't know. But the process of shooting on film is completely different because you're working with film and you're always loading film, and your takes can't be longer than 10 minutes. Um, and I like the process of working on film, and I think it's the best format to shoot documentaries. I think there's a reason why Frederick Wiseman still shoots on 16, because because when you have a digital camera, the camera is always there, right? You can just turn it on, and people will forget about the camera. But on film, the film camera is so big and so noisy that nobody will ever forget that it's there. But it does give you like a really good advantage because you're always working. You always feel like you are working, and you're always loading film and checking the light and measuring light and all that. And the subjects will, I mean, because I'm shooting a lot of the times I'm shooting people working, and I mean, I'm doing my work. It's a form of labor too, and I think they get used to my presence being there. We're working side by side, and they don't ever forget that the camera is there, but it's kind of like a different relationship with the camera. Does that make sense? It's not a fly on the wall kind of cinema, verite bullshit.
So you actually made it more purposeful that the people that you wanted to film are aware of the camera.
Yeah. None of it was filmed secretly. I don't believe in filming secretly. Well, I always ask before I film. So, yeah.
Any questions so far? Yes, no, maybe. Has this film been traveling, or is this the first?
This is the premiere.
Oh, this is the premiere.
Which I'm excited about because it's about Singapore, and I'm excited that Singaporeans get to see it first. But thank you everyone for staying to the end, because I know it's not easy.
Anyone would like to actually add on to, the fact that it's not easy or otherwise?
Any criticisms?
Why is that occasionally got some black screens?
Oh, interesting. Okay, the question was why is there occasionally some black screens? It has something to do with the entire process of filming, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Please go ahead to share with the audience.
So the first black screen was intentional. I wanted the film to roll out, and then a new film starts, because it's basically two films. There are two, like one is a fiction film and one is a documentary film. But then the fiction film behaves more like a documentary, and the documentary film behaves more like fiction. But anyway, so the two films were supposed to be paralleling each other. So if you noticed, so I wanted the black to be a significant break, so that you will see two films. The two films actually they actually start completely similarly. I don't know if you noticed, with almost the exact same shots, and then they break off and do their own stuff. So the first black was because of that. The second black was the process of working with film. It just rolls out. And there was important things. And I think when my grandfather was saying those things, I think the best thing was for it to be on black, because he's talking about cinema, and he's talking about the camera, and he's talking about, you know, what's behind the camera. And I think it's really appropriate that you don't see anything when he's talking about that. And he's talking straight to you guys, you know, a voice from the dark talking to the dark.
There was a lady or someone that raised their hands behind simultaneously.
What was the hardest part about doing this film?
What was the hardest part about doing the film?
Getting you guys to come. Making films is super easy. It's like the simplest thing. Everybody can make a film.
What is the second hardest part of making a film?
I don't want to talk about technical stuff because that is very boring. I guess film is really difficult, you know, it's really rare in Singapore. To find a place to process film and to telecine and all that is getting increasingly hard. It's like a hegemony of the digital world. You want to be a digital hub, but I say bullshit, you know. Digital is, I'm done with video. I'll never shoot on video again.
Very brave filmmaker. Any other questions? Oh no, sorry. Let the guy over there speak first. What message are you trying to convey through this film?
Well, I would like to ask you what you got out of this film, or did you get anything? Well, I think, well, the film is called Eclipses for a reason, you know. Besides the fact that the second half completely eclipses the first half, you don't see the main character, Val, who's sitting there, by the way, who is an actress, and the most intelligent actress working in Singapore, probably. So, yeah, besides the fact that the second half eclipses the first half, I think it's also about who are eclipsed in Singapore, and what we want to see and what we don't see. I think in movies especially, we never see labor these days. We don't ever see work. I mean, we do see a certain type of work, and it's always police work, you know, and not even real police work. And I think it's important to actually see people work, because that's what we do, you know, 2/3 of our lives is we work. So I think it was important to see and and for me, I didn't have. I mean, okay, I could tell you about how the film came about, which would be simpler. So the film came about two things. Okay, firstly, I was making films, and my really close friend of mine, Yasmin Ahmad, died, and after that, I was depressed for a really long time, and I wanted to give up filmmaking, because I found filmmaking really manipulative and full of artifice and bullshit. So I made this short film called Rumah Sendiri, and it was in Shortcuts this year. I don't know, some of you might have seen it. And I think that film got me interested in filmmaking again, because I could shoot people, and I could let people do what they want to do and say what they want to say, you know. So I thought that was important, to allow people to have that space to talk and to present what they want to present to the world. So for me, when I started this film, I was saying no more hiding, you know. It will all be the truth from now on. I don't want to tell any lies. I don't want to tell stories. I'm not interested in stories. And so, well, but first I came up with a story of Val, you know, which is the actress in the beginning. So her husband dies, and then she goes into her own world, and slowly she begins to make connections with the people around her, and slowly she comes to realize that she's connected to everyone in society, and that's how the film splinters off into a second film, right? And so that was in part my story too, which was what happened to me when Yasmin passed away. And I think I think how the film was shaped was really determined by the people who were in the film. I wanted them to tell me what to do. Even when Val was acting, I didn't direct her. I wanted her to tell me how she wanted to express herself in front of the camera, and I think everything in the editing and camera was dictated by that. I didn't write a single word in this movie, not a single word. Everything was written by the subjects themselves. Only the ending monologue was not written by the subject, which was taken by a French novelist called Gérard de Nerval from the 19th century. He's a surrealist. So that's the only monologue that wasn't written by the subjects themselves. But I thought it gave a good conclusion to what the film was about. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
Yes.